I'm going to hand over now to you guys and say, what sort of questions, or do you have any questions for Paula, or for myself, or for Lolani? Please, ask a question.
Good morning, all. Paula, I just found it interesting that you decided not to use those two distributors in Germany. The gin companies from abroad make use of distributors in South Africa to market their products and to distribute their products. So what strategy do you have in place, and why is it that you opted not to make use of those two distributors in Germany?
Sorry. We have a distributor here. We work with Firebrand, Africa Firebrand for here. So we had, sorry, that was one of the export companies that we deal with. So we have a distributor in Germany, in Belgium, Japan, but that's taking a very long time. But we do have a distributor here. Yeah, that's vital. To begin with, we were cold calling because there's so many gins and the distributors had too many gins on their books. So it was quite a depressing time of calling people up. They loved your gin, you'd send them a bottle, they'd love it even more, and then you'd wait for the order, which didn't come through. And then I can't remember quite through, somebody then put us in contact with somebody that went across their desk, and then suddenly we had a call from a distributor, and that made life a whole lot easier. So it was quite hard to find, but it sort of did come. But yeah, the distribution was very important.
Any other questions? Come on, there must be at least one or two more.
Can I make one point?
Yeah, sure.
One thing that I've found a really valuable tool, because with our product, we wanted to make other things as well. And my background, one of my backgrounds was in creativity and innovation. And it's a method called the Scamper Method, S-C-A-M-P-E-R. I can't remember what it all stands for, but it's minimize, maximize. You look basically at your product, we look at our gin, and we think, how many different things can we possibly make out of gin? So through using the Scamper Method, which I really advise looking up, we came up with gin and tonic chocolates, gin and tonic candles, miniature gins, different size gin bottles, key rings with our promotion stuff on. It's a very useful method to extend your product range. And to think very much about your product that you make. And I would really recommend having a look at that one. That's been invaluable. So it was how kind of the method that was used for Pritt Stick, you know, the Pritt Sticks that you buy, the glue.
Yes.
One man was watching a lady applying lipstick in the tube, and he was a glue manufacturer. And he saw that and he thought, well, if you did that on a different scale, you can make the Pritt Stick. And the same with the rollerball pen with a little biro at the end, the ball, that became roll-on deodorant. So it's a really good way to innovate your product and think about things differently that I would really recommend. It's quite vital at the moment as well. We don't know how things are going to change.
Wonderful.
Paula,
yeah.
Paula, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Paula, firstly, very well
Hello?
done. I think it's a wonderful product and a really good idea. Because I do believe in branding and marketing. If you've got a good story to tell, you're already winning. The rest is just about the methodology and picking it up. And I think, you know, from what you're saying, your process and your method has been 100%. Do you find that it's a repurchase brand, or do you feel that it's a one-off novelty brand? So,
well, that's one thing that we were a little bit concerned about. So we had our price pretty high to begin with because we figured it was going to be a one-off tourist purchase, and that was very much our mindset that this is an unusual gin that people probably buy once to try, but it's actually gone the other way. We've had to bring the price down, which I didn't really want to do, because people were repurchasing, and especially with the pink one as well, that's gone quite crazy, more than we ever expected. And I think the overseas market as well, so we've had to bring the price point down, which I was concerned that it wasn't going to be a mainstream gin, but it seems that people are really reordering.
And then my other question is, do you have a ritual in how you drink your specific gin?
Oh, yeah. Well, we've got a bit of a gin shelf going on, so I have various different gins. If you go to a gin awards evening, everyone does gin swaps, which is great. So I do, for specific gins, I have different ways, but with our Inglovu gin, it goes very well with orange. So we put a little bit of Cointreau in with it, a squeeze of orange juice, and then top up with some plain tonic water. There's no point using flavoured tonic waters in a decent premium gin. You may as well stick to Gordon's. Yeah, that's one of our favourite ones. And the pink prickly pear, there's Barker and Quinn are some of my favourite tonics. They do a pink hibiscus, which goes, it's a clear one, but it's a hibiscus one. And that goes very nice with prickly pear with a few pomegranate kernels in there as well.
And my last question to you is, are you building your brand to sell it?
I guess you should, they always say when you have a business, you should have your exit plan. So I hate to say it, but yes. But in my heart, I'd have to start another business. What am I going to do? I can't sit still and do nothing. But the gin, it would be very hard, I think, to say hand over the classic gin, because it's taken us on such a journey and it just continues to grow every day. But there probably will be a point. I guess if we had a big offer, then yeah, we'd have to consider selling, but that would be very hard.
Well, exactly. My point being, there's a very famous gin in South Africa called Inverrash, which has just been sold, and a powerful lady just like you has developed a very, very good business. My point being is, when you hand over your brand, you got to hand over the narrative, which is also how do you
Take
keep
yourself out of it.
Well, how do you keep the footprint going of your extended value chain? So the fact that you are supporting Wildlife Fund is an amazing thing. You know, to me, the heartfelt story is for every purchase that I'm saving some elephant somewhere. That's a wonderful thing. For every sip that I'm taking has a consciousness to it. That's a wonderful thing, because when you're selling a business, you're selling that story too. So you know, at some point, do you stop caring? It's quite an amazing thing, because you've got two attachments to your brand. You've got one that is invisible and highly conscious, and what we call woke advertising. And then the second is your pure product, what it tastes like, the intrinsic value of it, does it mix well, and it's a great drink. So I just wanted to check where your head was. There is no right or wrong. It's just really a case of...
It would be very hard, because I said to my husband, what do we do if we sell? And he goes, we have to start another business again. And I'm like, oh, but this has been so much fun. Occasionally, obviously with all businesses, there's some amazing things that can go wrong in terms of you've got a deadline, and doing business sometimes in Africa, things don't quite turn up when they should. Or you get an aubergine coloured elephant on your bottles, not the orange. So sometimes anything, oh, just sell it, just be gone. But yeah, you're right. I think our selling point is going to be, we can detach ourselves from it, because it actually has a life of its own, with the conservation, with the animals, and with the conservation. So we could extract ourselves from it, and it could stand on its own very well.
Okay.
Great. Well done, Paula.
Thanks, Paula. I've got one question.
Thank you.
Could you highlight one mistake you guys made that you definitely didn't, or would make sure that you would never repeat? What would it be, or what was it?
It's a hard one, because there were elements of it that were good. It was probably the first people that we employed to do the marketing. And it was a choice between people we didn't know, who actually were probably more professional than the person that we did know. I fell into that trap of going with a friend, and the branding that they did for us in the box, everything, we were pleased with. That was good. But when it came down to like a monthly retainer, which was expensive, and they flew down to meet us, and they knew nothing about marketing, and I've got a marketing diploma, I was so furious. I really felt quite taken advantage of. There was no marketing plan. I said, okay, well, what's the marketing plan? What do you foresee? So that was one mistake. The other mistake actually was going early on to a digital social media professional, whatever. And I'd done a lot of it in the past anyway, because I used to run a photography business at some other point, and realized if I can do it better than the person who I'm paying to do it, then I will do it if I possibly can. So those were probably the two mistakes, actually trying to hand over the marketing when you knew your business more than they did or cared about it.
That's actually quite profound. Basil, you've got a question.
Yeah, thank you. Paula, loved your presentation, really inspiring. Somebody asked a question now, what did you do wrong, or what would you have changed? My question is, what was the thing that, entrepreneurs are very, we can go on the smell of an oil rag, but what was the thing that you did that made you think, wow, now we're going? What was the biggest thing that got you going?
For me, I think I like the chase of an idea. So for me, the most exciting part was actually getting it into the bottle, I think. My husband was the one that really kind of helped to actually get it onto the shelf and get it selling. I think we had some social media comments, which you can understand when you're putting a gin like that weren't particularly pleasant. And I read a few and I got a bit upset and felt like hiding under the sofa. It was faith in other people having faith in us. So when we got the duty free, when we went to World Travel Market and we were so well received, when we won when we won the Double Craft Award and we got the Good Grog, that was when the confidence started to grow and you get this buzz of, yeah, we are doing something quite extraordinary, and it's going to be a Marmite product. You can't please everybody and you shouldn't please everybody. Those were the times you get that sort of little adrenaline rush of, we're up to something good. And then when we saw the social media, it was crazy. Once it, got out globally to the States, across the world, and we were getting 50 messages a day from people wanting to interview us and purchase it, that was when you kind of realize, oh my word. And then back and have a bit of a chuckle going, with all our education background, we're making elephant tongue gin. So yeah.
Thank you. That sounded like feedback that you got to say you're doing something right. Was there a thing that, what's the biggest thing that you think you did right? That you did, not feedback from others, but that you think you did right. And you thought, well, that's it. That has actually now put us on a different playing field.
I think making a premium gin, really aiming high. And I don't know if I'm answering your question. Going for the best that we possibly could with our gin. So we didn't just try and brew it ourselves. We spoke to one of the best gin producers in the country, if not in the world. And getting that sort of level of advice, I think that was where it was hard at times when you're being bombarded by other comments, but in our hearts, and Roger reinforcing, you've got a good gin. That's what we did right, I think, really aiming. We could have made it gimmicky. It could have been a completely rubbish gin and just gone really gimmicky, but we wanted to keep a certain pride in the gin, if you know what I mean. Keep it as a premium gin. Whatever people are saying, it could have got denigrated to just being a novelty. But actually, it's a good gin that stands on its own. I think that was something that we really aimed at the beginning, to be novel with our packaging, to make it stand out amongst the rest. Am I answering your question?
Yeah, what I'm picking up is that you spoke to the right person and they gave you the right advice, and then they put you on the right track. It sounds like that is what happened. Yeah,
I think it did. We took our time. We didn't rush. Because I was a bit coy about the idea, I was very, very secretive about who I kind of spoke to about it, almost preserving my own confidence. But we got it right with Roger. As soon as I met him, I was like, no, he's the right person to speak to. Mm. We see him occasionally, but now we're kind of on our own with it. So yes, taking your time to make the right connections. Admittedly, we may have fallen a little bit to begin with the marketing and the social media, but from then on, I got a lot more prudent. And also, I think we stuck by the rules. So you don't have to legally go through the Department of Agriculture and Fisheries. It's only if someone reports you and your bottle gets taken in, you get taken off the shelves. But we knew we had a gin that people could, if they wanted to, really pull apart, perhaps. So we did everything we could in the background of lab testing it for tannin levels, which we knew would be low, but we should test it anyway because it's wooded material in there. Testing it for any bacterial content. So we kind of preempted anything that anybody could really throw at us. And I think, we knew we had a good, solid product.
Great, thank you. Very interesting. Well done.
Thank you.
Okay, Paula, we got one more question from Nalani.
Okay, it's really, every time you speak about the gin, I sort of just want to run out. And I just want to tell everybody that's on here that it's just by accident, but you know that One Day Only is running a special on the pink gin today.
Oh, are they? Are they allowed? Okay.
Yeah, so if you want to pre-order, there's your opportunity. Paula, I know that you work with quite a lot of people, and a lot of the stuff that you do, you've got the gin, but you've got fingers in a lot of other stuff that you connect, like the wildlife, like upliftment. And what advice would you give to businesses that if you want to get involved with other people that's not in the same type of business, or that you do not really outsource to, but you want to contribute? How do you go about that to make sure that you do not burn your fingers and get involved with the wrong people or people that would damage your brand? Is it a process, or what did you do?
You mean in terms of involved with the gin? So like the Africa Foundation, how did we join with them and make sure that they were good for us still?
Yeah.
Well, it was quite funny because we had the money from the gin and we wanted to find who to give our donations to. And it's incredibly hard to give money away to an organization because a lot of the places are actually owned by larger companies. So I can't remember, it was And Beyond. They have a company that we were very interested. It really fitted with our gin that we wanted to give the money to. And then we realized it was a large travel company, And Beyond. And they weren't interested at all in our kind of small fry. And we had a few things like that. And then it was a lady through WhatsApp, through a contact, who said Africa Foundation. And through one of the game reserves, which I've completely forgotten the name of now, that we give to. And we do quite a lot of background work to make sure that they do align with us. And we have so far been fortunate with who we've linked with.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, Adolf, you've got one more question. And I think that'll be the last one because we are running out of time. So,
well, I've got one, sorry. Can I just add one thing to Leilani's last comment? We have been contacted sometimes by like a children's charity, and we have to think very, like with the Africa Foundation, we make gin, we make alcohol. So we don't think it's appropriate to, we can give through IBHU, perhaps to a child's charity, but we're very, very careful of being seen to being an alcohol manufacturer giving to an inappropriate kind of community or group. So that's one thing that we are very watchful for.
Okay. Adolf?
Okay, my question, yeah. Paula, from your discussion, I gather there's a lot of integrity and trust in your relationship with your outsourced partners. I'm just curious, do you have a way of protecting your intellectual property in place? You are probably the one that has done all the hard work. I'm just thinking of the company doing the distillery company that you're using and so on. Do you have some type of protection in place, or?
Yeah, we have confidentiality agreements with them, with the distiller, with our recipe and things. Our logos and stuff are trademarks, but there's only a limited amount that we can actually really do with our recipe and what we do. We kind of hope by the nature of what we do with collecting the dung, we keep the sanitizing process very quiet as well, because that's pretty bespoke. But it is a bit problematic because you can't really, you can hide your recipe as much as you can, but there's not an awful lot more you can do to kind of protect it further.
Okay, interesting. Paula, thank you so much for your time this morning. I think it was quite insightful.
No, pleasure. Lovely to meet everybody.
No, sure. Okay, then just to wrap up, guys, next week, I'm just waiting for confirmation, but I've got trying to get a finance person online who can tell us about how the banks can actually support small business. But I will send out an email latest Monday to everyone just to confirm and say, listen, I have this finance person on board for next week Friday who can tell us about how the banks are supporting small business. And then the week thereafter, I have a person on the portfolio for small business in Parliament who is going to share with us how the government, what programs are available to support small business. But I'll confirm that with you guys as well. Okay, so that is us. And we are now running at 50 minutes, so we're a little bit over our normal Zoom time. But again, thank you to Paula and thank you to everybody else who joined. I'm going to end the meeting now.